Hey guys, so today we are still talking about genocide, the essential question for the day: what caused the genocide in Rwanda, and what can be learned from this historic event? We're going to watch a video on the Rwandan genocide that's really focused on a survivor of this genocide, and we're going to use that information to do our closure discussion where we talk about our answer to these two questions. These two questions will also help you with the end of the term final exam. And just a reminder on the homework, there's the Partition 321 Jamboard, Chinese philosophies assignment, and the Friday quiz. All of those you can still turn in for full points. Just make sure you have them turned in by the end of the term, which is only in 9 more days. Speaking of the end of the end of the term final will be available on Monday the 25th. That doesn't mean it's due the 25th. You have until Thursday the 28th to complete that end of the term exam. And just a reminder on what we're doing this week, we're going to be covering 1 to 2 groups per day, and you guys are going to use the materials on Google Classroom to complete that notes chart where we talk about one different group and the genocide that they faced. In order to edit or write your notes in that Google Doc, you might have to click File, make a copy, so that way you have it in your own drive and you can edit it however you want. We will come back to the Google Meet at 10:40 to discuss what made this a genocide. The essential questions: what caused the genocide, and what can we learn from this historic event. Remember, the reason why we're doing that is so that way you're not carrying all this emotional baggage from this really, really tough, emotionally draining topic to your next class. Hopefully you guys feel a little bit more like Phoebe after discussing everything and getting it all off your chest. All right, so I'm actually going to show you the notes, and then I'm going to go over this background information because I might discuss some of the answers to those notes in this background information or information if you are feeling slightly French. So remember, here is a copy of those notes where we have those groups at the very, very top. Yesterday, you filled in this section about Armenians. Today, you're going to fill in the information about the Tutsis of Rwanda and the genocide that they faced. Okay, so you might want to have those notes handy for your background information because I'm going to go over some of those answers. All right, well, Rwanda is this country right here. And remember, all of these countries in Africa are European drawn borders. So before Europeans even arrived, there were 2 main tribal or ethnic groups in this area. The Tutsis were the elites, the Hutus were the peasant masses. So most people were the Hutus, but they were relatively poor. The Tutsis, less, like a smaller population, but more power and wealth. This area was ruled by a king, and that king was a Tutsi. Then Europeans came and the Germans colonized Rwanda. After World War I, they were forced to give up their African colonies, and they gave Rwanda to the Belgians. The Belgians came in and they favored the Tutsis. They were like, hey, Tutsis, you guys are pretty cool. We are going to give you more power and wealth, and we're going to discriminate against the Hutus. The Hutus, of course, didn't like this, and they're like, wait, we make up 85% of this country. Why don't we just overthrow this government in favor of democracy? Which makes total sense. The Belgians were like, oh my gosh, we got a coup on our hands. Like, let's go ahead and switch sides to support the Hutus. They weren't supporting the Hutus because they're like, democracy is awesome and we want to support that idea. They were mainly supporting their own power by supporting the Hutus. This caused a lot of fighting. Like, the Hutus were suppressed by the Tutsis for a long time, and now they use this power to kind of like get back at the Tutsis. And this just increased tension, especially when they became independent. In 1962, there was just a lot of fighting and violence and killing between these 2 different groups. And this caused a lot of fear. There was pressure from corrupt governments. These people became unwanted refugees in different areas, which just kind of cycled back into this hatred for the other side. And then April 6th, 1994 is when the Rwandan genocide really started happening. The Rwandan president died in a plane crash, and the Tutsis were blamed for the killing of the president. So the Hutus were really, really upset. There was a lot of fear going on, and they kind of channeled this fear into blaming the Tutsis for killing their president. And this led to 100 days of genocide by the Hutus against the Tutsis. That's the background information you need for the video. The video is about 10 minutes long, and it's from a survivor of the Rwandan genocide. As you listen, make sure you fill out your chart. You might be able to fill out some information in that chart based off this background information section that I just went over. And if there's anything missing that you couldn't find in the video, you can go ahead and do a web search. That's absolutely fine. And we're going to come back to the Google Meets at 10:40 with answers to these questions. What were some of the causes of this genocide, and what can we learn from this event in history to prevent it from repeating? If there was any questions like blanks that you had on your notes that you couldn't find, feel free to come with those questions as well.